All right. Well, good evening. Happy holidays. Welcome to our Tiger Talk special, The Brotherhood, the value of being a Morehouse man. The value of being a Morehouse man. I'm so excited to have you all with us this afternoon, evening. We have a phrase at Morehouse that rain can't stop the house. So if it's raining where you are, like it's raining right now in Georgia, we know that's not going to stop us. So we have a lot in store for you tonight, and we hope that you have an amazing presentation and that you stay with us and connect with us as we broach this topic, the value of being a Morehouse man. So I am Michael Gum. I serve as the Director of Admissions at Morehouse College, class of 2010. And I can tell you one brother born one day after me on July 5th, that amazing day, the rain would open and a gentleman by the name of Anthony Miller would find himself being a graduate of Morehouse with me, the class of 2010 as well. And so, Anthony, if you could just come off mute and just introduce yourself, that would be great. And then we'll kick this thing off.
Hi, everybody. As my brother just stated, my name is Anthony Miller, and I am from the great class of 2010, and I am from the city of Philadelphia. Here I serve as the Chief of Climate and Culture for String Theory Schools, Philadelphia Performing Arts. And I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to join in this discussion. I'm always happy to talk about the house, so I'm excited to see where we're going to go with this.
Absolutely. So we'll get into what Morehouse is. So for over 150 years, Morehouse has had the mission and the purpose to develop men with disciplined minds who would lead lives of leadership and service. With that mission comes the focus of educating predominantly African-American men who find themselves wanting the desire to learn, to achieve, to find their career path, while at the same time getting to know themselves so that they can then make an impact to the world. So we have a lot of disciplines, a lot of opportunities, a lot of different majors that you can find yourself being a part of and associated with. So what we're planning to do to talk about Morehouse is we're going to take a bigger deep and a bigger dive into what this Morehouse mean, what does Morehouse mean, and what is this value of a Morehouse education as it relates to the Morehouse man. So first, to understand the value of Morehouse, you need to understand the alumni. So whenever you're looking at an institution, you need to shake the trees and decipher, what does this school represent, right? And the best alums that have come out the institution gives you at least some of the characteristic traits of what this institution upholds based on its alumni base. So you can see here, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who's a graduate of Morehouse College, U.S. Senator right now, Raphael Warnock, from the amazing Samuel L. Jackson, who's a graduate of Morehouse. You will know him as an actor, and Randall Woodfin, who's currently the mayor of Birmingham, Alabama. If you look at these quotes, it really gets to what Morehouse sort of represents and what it means. So Morehouse is a nucleus of Black male excellence. Just think about that for a minute. And then the quote by Harold Martin, interim president at one point of Morehouse College, said, "There is no collection of Black men in the country that can rival the depth and breadth of a Morehouse man, or Morehouse man in general." So we want to definitely get at what is it to be a Morehouse man. So Anthony, part of this conversation, part of what we plan to do tonight for the 40 minutes that we have to engage these amazing families and these students is we're going to dig deep into what is the Morehouse mystique. So we'll get started. So that's our first question up for tonight. So Anthony, if you can, we're going to spotlight you. And if you could just kind of explain to the family, what is the Morehouse mystique?
You know, that's a very interesting question to answer, because arguably we've always said if you can explain the mystique, it's really not a mystique. The power of the mystique is that it's inexplicable, that there's something different, something distinguishing, something that's special about a Morehouse man whenever he walks into a room, whenever he speaks, whenever he stands for social justice, whether he is in the business room or the pulpit. there's something different about what he brings, and that can be defined as the mystique. I can sum it up this way. My grandmother never finished high school. Okay. She's from Florida, from South Florida specifically, never finished high school. My interest in Morehouse was born from a seventh grade experience I had during Black History Month, where, of course, we were learning about Dr. King and his speeches, of course. But I did a deeper dive and I learned that he had attended Morehouse College. And I knew that there was something different about Dr. King. There was something special. And I wanted to tap into that difference. I wanted to tap into that which made him special. And I knew from that day forward, I wanted to go to Morehouse College. And so I ran home and I told my grandmother, who was washing dishes at the time, I said, Grandma, I want to go to Morehouse College. And she turned around and she said, You want to go to Morehouse? And it didn't even say it properly, but said, You want to be a Morehouse man? I've never heard that term before, Morehouse man. And my grandmother had never been anywhere near a of Morehouse men. And she knew that there was something different and special about this Morehouse man. And from that day forward, I wanted to be a Morehouse man. So my grandmother, far removed from what we would say is the mystique, or what we define as the mystique, far removed from that. She just knew there was this inkling, there was this something, this shaking within her, that when she heard the term, that she knew that it was special as well. And so that to me kind of sums up the mystique, that folks who are not at all close to higher education or institutions of learning that we will call distinguished institutions, Harvard, Yale, whatever school but they know something that's distinguishing and special because they know the special people who were connected to it. So I think that kind of sums up the mystique. My grandmother from South Florida, who didn't know much, but just she knew there was some about Morehouse and some about Morehouse men, and that was special.
I love that, man. That idea of specialty, right? I think that's what sums it up well, because we find ourselves as Morehouse men asking the question, what makes us more unique or more special? But I like what you said. It's almost as if something resonated in the past that she recalled to, and that meant something. And so you talked about Dr. King as also being the example. So I want to get to our next question, and you can help us with this one. And so that next question is, can you describe the culture at Morehouse College? Because we talked about the idea of like the Morehouse mystique, in which you're defining as like this specialty. So one would say that Dr. King wouldn't be Dr. King if he didn't come to Morehouse. What is it about the culture at Morehouse to you?
I think that it's a culture that can be summed up in two words. It's a culture of community and it's a culture of competition. And I think those things are critically important, or critical ingredients to really producing what we would call the Morehouse man. First, community. You're going to be around brothers who are going to push you and they're going to support you, and they are going to be, you know, on the front lines of pushing your dreams and making your dreams come to life. And they are going to help you and feed you when you're hungry, when you don't have a meal plan. I mean, the community is just something that is incredible. And as a consequence, you'll travel to their homes, and they'll travel to your homes, and you'll find yourself in cities that you've never been to and eating foods you've never eaten before because of that community. The professors are like extensions of your family, and the staff as well. When you walk into Gloucester Hall, it's like family, whether you're in financial aid or admissions, and everybody is going to make sure that you're at your best and you're giving your best at all times. So if you're not presented well, if you walk into Gloucester Hall and you're not, if you don't have the physical appearance of somebody who really wants something from that place, then they will let you know. They'll tell you to pull your pants up. They tell you to take your hat off. And these things are critically important for you to have success in other spaces. So that community is really, really important. And I don't think you will find that at any other institution. But on the second part is competition. So when I was in high school, I had endeavored to be the greatest student one could ever find. And I won every contest, every competition. I was president of the Citywide Student Government Association of Philadelphia. I had a voting seat on the School Reform Commission. I was president of my high school. I was really that guy, if so to speak. And then I got to Morehouse, and it was like I remember day one. It was like there were 2,999 other guys down there who were just like me and better and much better. And that competition really pushed me to perform at my best. You know, scripture says that iron sharpens iron. You want to be around iron. You want to be around folks who are going to make you achieve higher. And that culture is one that's going to make you achieve higher. And those are skills that are highly transferable. You're going to leave that campus and go into other spaces after Morehouse, be it graduate school or into the world of work, and you're going to carry that competitive desire, and it's going to set you aside from everybody else, for certain.
Man, you bring that up, and that culture aspect is so real. Just real quick, curious. I know at one point you got a chance to come back, and you were a speaker for Morehouse. Can you describe that? I mean, you had that cultural aspect, you understood who you were, but then my brother, class of 2010, Anthony Miller, standing in front of the next generation class presenting to them. Can you just kind of talk about that a little bit?
Um, honestly, I was shocked by that. I didn't even think that I was worthy of such a privilege to have been asked to be the baccalaureate speaker or a baccalaureate speaker just 2 years removed from me finishing the school myself was pretty, it's pretty shocking to me. But I had spoken at Welcome to the House, which is our formal welcoming ceremony for new men of Morehouse. And that was in 2009. And so that graduating class had asked if I could be a baccalaureate speaker. So when Dean Carter called me, I was like, what am I going to say to them about life or living after college? And I haven't done much living myself. It was a very um, intimidating experience, but an experience that I will forever appreciate because not many of us Morehouse men can say that we've had that opportunity. So I'm happy that the class of 2013 invited me to do that. They were a phenomenal class. They were a phenomenal class, and they have gone on to do great things as well. So shout out to Pastor Reggie Sharp. He's a graduate of that class.
Yeah. Yeah. 2013 was amazing. Yeah, I'm so happy about that. So we'll get to our next question. And so that question is, why is the idea of brotherhood? And I know this one's going to hit you as you think about project identity. Why is the idea of brotherhood so impactful at Morehouse College? What is it about this concept of brotherhood that makes you Morehouse?
So, in all my relationships in life, all my relationships, whether it's my boss at the job or if I'm in a romantic relationship or family members, and I say, I'm about to fly out this weekend, and they say, where are you going? I'm like, I'm going to go see my brother. And then they're like, oh, you have a brother? And I'm like, no, not my brother. It's not, oh, are you in a fraternity? No, I'm not in a fraternity. Uh, you know, um, and this is my Morehouse brother, but he's my brother. And most of the time, it isn't at all necessary for me to. I don't feel it at all necessary to include the adjective Morehouse because we have that understanding among ourselves, but we are brothers. We are brothers, and almost like bonded by blood brothers. No matter what your graduating class is, we are brothers. I can see a Morehouse man in the airport. I can see a Morehouse man at some beach resort in another country. And if he has some sort of, merch on that says Morehouse, then we're going to approach each other and we're going to talk to each other. And I'm going to buy his meal, or he's going to buy my meal. And I'm going to ask him where he's staying. And we're going to talk throughout that entire stay, no matter what graduating class we're from, whether I know him formally or not. That is a part of that mystique, that brotherhood. I don't know how many alumni we have now. You would know that number better than I do, but I know we have I have 20,000 brothers throughout the country, who I can go to no matter what and for anything. And that is something that one could never place a value on. And that's fostered the moment you walk into the college, the moment you walk into your dormitory, the moment you furnish your dormitory. Your first brother is going to be your roommate. The first time you walk into the cafeteria, your first band of brothers is going to be those you first sit with and eat with, and your network is going to grow accordingly. So it's an amazing experience, and you are going to gain additional family members, and your own family members not going to know you had this many brothers. I know your mommy and daddy, they don't have that many kids. No, I have tons of brothers.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Can you talked about brotherhood in that way. I'm curious to know in terms of brotherhood as it relates to some of the faculty, right? Some of the staff members that are also alum. Can you kind of get into that a little bit and what that means? And I think about Ilya Davis. I think about, Brian Marks at the time. Like just kind of go.
Oh man, those are that's having big brothers at school every day who are not going to put up with your nonsense. That's what it's that you having people who've lived in your dorms and eaten in the same cafeteria, and in many cases have learned from the same professors. So they are going to share their experiences with you, and they are going to hold you accountable. They're going to hold your feet to the fire because they know what it takes to be successful as a Morehouse man. So they're not going to let you slack whatsoever. And that's what I love about all our alumni Morehouse men who teach at the college. But more than that, they're much more than professors. Like for Dr. Davis, who is my big brother, but I also call my uncle, he when I was in school, I made some foolish decisions, and I didn't spend my money well. My refund checks went right out the door as soon as I got them, and I didn't pay my rent, and I didn't pay my bills. And so there was a season where I was literally in the Atlanta cold in my apartment, and Dr. Davis had come by because his mom just lived down the street. And he had come by because he was going to get a book that I had borrowed from him. And he walked in my apartment and he thought how cold it was. And he said, "Boy, what are you doing?" And he took me to his house, let me stay with he and his family for the next few days, and made me work for him. And he gave me the money that was necessary for me to pay my bill, and told me, "Don't let this happen again. You have a responsibility to yourself, and to your family, to take care of yourself." And to this day, he's a family member who I can call on any day of the week, and he'll answer. And not just him, but there are plenty of Morehouse men who are faculty members and who are older alum, who are just as inviting.
Which is awesome. And so I want to lean on this idea of brotherhood as it relates to sort of like how your schoolwork is done, right? So what does it like? What is that professor relationship at Morehouse, and how does that really make it like? How does it affect the Morehouse men that are there in terms of brotherhood?
So again, I think that you have one of my favorite alumni professors, Dr. Martellus Barksdale, and he was former chair of the history department, African American studies, and I think his graduating class was like in the 60s or something like that. And he was very intentional about sharing his experiences with us as a student. But one of the things I think that most resonated with us as brothers at the time and really kind of pushed us to achieve at our best, was we asked him, what was it that, because we were all kind of like in love with being PhDs at the time. All of us were like, oh, we're all going to be PhDs. Everybody, we're all going to be doctor this, doctor that. And so we were interested in learning about the rigor associated with getting a PhD. And Dr. Barstow said that while at Duke, he wanted to give up many, many times. That it was relatively difficult in terms of the time associated with getting the degree. Not so much that the content was hard, but setting aside the time necessary to do the research and to complete the dissertation, all that was really taxing on him, being a family man at the time as well. So, and I never forget him saying this. This is what he said: "I couldn't give up because all I could think about was Morehouse. All I could think about was Morehouse, and I couldn't let Morehouse down. I could not have it said that a Morehouse graduate underperformed in graduate school, gave up, or just didn't do his best." And that was the oil for his engine. The idea of letting the school down, letting his brothers down, because at the time in his graduating class, many of them were in PhD programs, and many of them felt that same feeling of being overworked and exhausted, and kind of at their at the edge of their comfort in terms of completing the program, and not letting the college down, not letting the brothers down, was critically important for keeping them on track. And so for me, I think that's the same as it relates to our brotherhood. Everything I do in my professional life, I know reflects on the college and reflects on our brotherhood. Everything. And what I think makes us special is that, and I think I shared this with you before, Mike, because I try to recruit literally every Morehouse man I possibly could to Philadelphia to come work with my school family, and in many capacities. That my CEO one day, she came to me and said, now she's an Italian lady, and she's in her 70s. And I remember when I first got to the school, she said, I had come as a teacher, and within 4 months, I was promoted to dean. And a lot of people were wondering, like, what made him qualified to be promoted to dean within 4 months of being here. And there's so many other people on staff who possibly could have been in that position. And it was said to me that when it was pitched to her, that I may, be in that position, that the person said to her, and he went to Morehouse. And she said, "Oh, he went to Morehouse." And that was the deciding factor. She didn't know me much at all. She didn't know much about me or my abilities, my performance, any of that. She just knew that I had gone to Morehouse, and that because of that, I would do the job well. And I say that to say, as it relates to our brotherhood, was one day I was in the lobby, and I think I spoke to you that day, Mike. She had come up to me and said, "Anthony," and this is within me about being there for about 4 years. She said, "Where can I get more of you?" And I said, "More of me? What do you mean?" She said, "I need more Morehouse men. I need as many Morehouse men as I can get around here. Where can I get them?" So, yeah, she understands that there's something special about this brotherhood too.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. And I think that that says a lot about our college. So we got a couple of questions for you. And family on the call, we will open it up for Q&A. So there'll be opportunities. Please go ahead and put your questions in the chat. We have a jewel with us tonight who's really dropping down a lot of knowledge. So Anthony, again, we appreciate you and your presence here. It means a lot. So our next question for you is, so what is the expectation of a Morehouse man? And you kind of nailed on this. I'll go with the quote, right? Because you and I, we spit quotes. Morehouse holds a crown above our heads and hopes that we grow tall enough to wear it, right? Morehouse holds a crown above our heads and hopes that we grow tall enough to wear it. We know that that is stimulating from Howard Thurman, right? But it actually comes from John Hope. So in your reference to that question, what is it about this expectation?
I think May sums it up well when he says, "Do your job so well that no man living dead or yet to be born can do it any better. And I think that that is our expectation, that whatever field to which you endeavor to go into professionally, you go with the intention of being the best at it, the best. If you're going to be an artist, then you achieve you go and be the best. And if you're going to be a preacher, then you aim to be the best preacher and the most moral, the most upright, the best orator, whatever the case, whatever it is, you aim to be the best and do it better than anybody. And I think that's what makes us special. It's that when we get into these positions professionally, we know what's expected of us. We know that we have to be the cream of the crop and nothing less. And I think that's what really makes us special. We do our jobs very, very well.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So we'll get to the next question.
You just want to jump into it?
Sorry, I pressed the wrong button. In what
Mhm.
ways does Morehouse mold a student's character? Molding is everything at Morehouse, right? No one just gets
Mhm.
there, but something about Morehouse in terms of this molding. Can you talk a little bit about that? I know there's different ways we're molded and our characters is molded. I think it was Mays. He said there's no direct correlation that when you train a man's mind, you train his heart, right? There's no
Mhm.
coordination between goodness and what, right? So when we
Mhm.
talk about that, what does that mean to you, and why is character such a big thing?
I think that um, that's what makes us special, and that that character education is so critically important at the college. That you know we don't care really how smart you are. That's just a part of what makes a human being special. You know, you can be valedictorian, salutatorian, all that's okay. How you excel academically, that's fine. But we really care about the quality of your heart. Do you care about people? Do you care about making the sacrifices necessary to help the least, the lost, and the left out? Are you going to be one of the change agents in your community to ensure that young boys who didn't have an opportunity like you have that opportunity? How selfless are you going to be? The world is, much bigger than your immediate community and much bigger than you. And so that value is I mean, that is a common refrain at Morehouse, being a man of high character, being a man of service. And so you will see my freshman year, we did a lot of service work just by way of my classes. I had Professor Corey Staten in my English class, and every Saturday we went and we fed the poor at the working poor at a soup kitchen at a Catholic church in downtown Atlanta. And they wake up every Saturday morning at 7 o'clock to do that, and that was just for a freshman English class. Now you multiply that by how many other professors had other service-oriented projects that you didn't really know. It wasn't on the syllabus. It was just something that was included in the way they did things. I think that Morehouse being so intentional about that is really what makes us special. And I think that our Crown Forum experience is really, I think, the experience that really makes it sets us apart. So Crown Forum is our gathering every Thursday morning, and you're expected to be suited and booted in King's Chapel at 11 o'clock, and every student has to be there, no matter what your classification is. You have to attend Crown Forum. And if you don't attend Crown Forum, then you will not graduate because Crown Forum is a credit. So everybody has to go. It is how can I it is ecumenical church. That's what it is. And when we gather at Crown Forum, not only do we sing the hymn in community with each other at the end of each experience, but there are special speakers from all throughout the world who come and share. and talk about service and talk about sacrifice and talk about their experiences. I've witnessed some of the most famous Black Americans ever right in front of my face, right in Crown Forum, from Jesse Jackson to Andrew Young to you name them. It's so many of them. So Crown Forum is really an intentional experience. It's a spiritual experience, and I would argue that that's what most of us remember about Morehouse. Being at Crown Forum, hearing those speakers, hearing the panelists, if there were ever a forum discussion, and walking away from them feeling better about our work in the classroom.
Yo, that's it right there. That's it right there. Because when we talk about Crown Forum, we all had these like memorable experiences. So mine was seeing Julian Bond. That was like one of the coolest experiences to see a Julian Bond and as he was engaging. And I remember when Cornell West came to
Mm-hmm.
Morehouse, I remember seeing Michael Eric
Yes.
Dyson
Mm-hmm.
coming and some of the most critical thinkers being right there in front of you. And I was in the second row. What was your most memorable experience? Like, what do you remember the most and who?
At Crown Forum, um, there are two. First is Dr. Robert Michael Franklin's inaugural Crown Forum as president. Legendary.
You got to now. Look, you got to do it
Absolutely
now. You got to.
legendary. There's not what you say. I don't
You
think
already know. You
there's
got to do
not.
it now.
All right, brothers. All right, brothers. I can't do it like I used to. But I used to be a very good impressionist of Dr. Franklin. But his inaugural speech, legendary. I think that there's not a Morehouse man who attended during that time who would say anything different about that speech. And the second one would have to be, and you know what? I can't even. I wouldn't even rank them. But Dr. Charles Gilchrist Adams from Detroit, Michigan, preached a sermon called "Where Are the Men?" based on Adam and Eve, and it was legendary. Those two really resonate most with me. Mm.
Man, that's awesome. Speaking of Crown Forum, I'm gonna hit there because you were also an Otis Moss winner, if I recall.
Hmm.
And I think that happened in 2009 or 10. I think it might have been our senior year. But can you
Yeah,
talk about
2010. Yeah.
yeah, can you
Yeah.
talk
So uh, I remember I said earlier in our discussion that I had won every competition in high school, and that included oratorical competitions. But I was very afraid of getting into the Otis Moss oratorical competition. That is the oratorical competition of oratorical competitions, because virtually every man of Morehouse and Morehouse man is well spoken, and in a competitive environment, they bring their best. And so every year, I would, you know, I would consider it, but I would be I was just too intimidated to sign up every year. And but my so senior year, I don't know, I really don't know what led me to do it. I think, you know what? I think it was the welcome to the house experience. After that speech, that had that kind of, I don't know, the student body was like really electrified by that. And so a lot of brothers were like, man, you have to do the oldest Moss. You have to do the oldest Moss, man. I think that's what really pushed me to do it, because I was afraid. I listen, I'm not one of them people who say I'm not afraid of losing. I am afraid of losing, and I don't want to lose. If I get in, I want to win. I don't want to be second. I don't want to be any other. I want to win. And so I had that mentality going into the competition, and I knew that everybody who had made it to the semifinals were among the best speakers we had had at the college. But I knew that I'd be better because I was just going to be better on that day. I was determined, and I think that that's how we all talk when we're expected to bring our A game in places we're expected to bring our A game into. And so I won, be that as it may, and thank God for that. Yeah.
Yo, it's they tell you can tell a Morehouse man, but you can't tell him much. So I'm listening. I'm like, that's about right. You just believe in yourself, and that's that confidence, and it's beautiful at Morehouse. So let's get to our next question that we had written. So I know this is a good one. Beautiful question. What career opportunities can students achieve? And then how do the alumni support that, right? Because we want our guys to find opportunities. I think the college is it, but how do our alumni support careers and opportunities for students?
I just said that we have the largest fraternity in the world. So I mean, if you are in a city where there are Morehouse men in every city in the country, and if you need something professionally from a Morehouse man, then he is going to make it happen for you. Okay. So in terms of professional opportunities, they are endless because with a Morehouse degree, I don't care what your major is, you are valuable to whatever company. They are going to find value. They're going to find value in you, and they're going to create a position for you, even if it doesn't exist. And I mean, I'm talking from experience because I studied religion and philosophy. I've yet to work in that field. I've worked in probably every field but religion and philosophy professionally, right? It's just the mystique of being a Morehouse man kind of tells companies that you can do virtually anything, and Morehouse being a liberal arts college does lend itself to that as well. So you're gonna study every discipline. You're gonna have some experience in every discipline, so you're gonna be able to speak, comprehensively at least about every discipline, if you did well, and so companies are going to understand that. So whatever field you enter into, when they see Morehouse, they're going to have a very, very high interest in you. Now, in terms of alumni support, so if let's say I work in education right now. Let's say that I want to quit my job because I'm unhappy and I fear that a job that's similar is not available. Well, in this city, our alumni association meets, our local alumni association meets every month. So you're still going to have brothers here. You're going to have a brotherhood here, and they work in every space. And even those who are not active in your alumni association, you still can reach out to. And so we have brothers in this city who are CEOs of charter school organizations, who are superintendents or assistant superintendents for local school, for the Philadelphia school district, who are superintendents for suburban school districts. And so the network is pretty expansive. And so all I have to do is pick up a phone call. And they don't have to search my LinkedIn to find out anything more deeply about me. All they have to see is that I'm a Morehouse man, and that's enough for them to support my candidacy for any position.
Very well stated. Very well stated. So we'll get to our next question, and then in about 2 minutes, we're going to open the floor for the questions that people have chatted or asked us. So this question is, in what ways have you, as an alumnus, given back to Morehouse? Talk to us. I know one way, right? You presented to those amazing class of 2013, but what other ways have you planned or do you plan to give back?
Financially is one of the most critical ways that you can give back to the college. So being financial with the college is important, even if you don't have much to give what you can, based on, whatever your income is and what you can sacrifice at the time. But being financial is critically important. And so for me, I've just not only have done that, but I'm on call for the college, and I think about, I'm not on call for anybody else, but my mama and my sisters and Morehouse. Mike has called me and asked me to stand in for admissions related events. And some have been close, some have been a little farther, but I've made it to them all. I learned of this, not too, not, there wasn't a lot of learn this discussion, and yet I just cleared my schedule to make sure that I'm here because that's how important the college is to me. So whenever college, I'm available. So that's important to me. Yeah.
You answered every time, bro. You answered every time. So thank you.